Madam Clerk, are we ready to fire it up?
Yes. Dr. Williams, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Sharon Williams,
During such times as I hold the above office,
during such times as I hold the above office,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We officially call this hearing to order at 9:43 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let the record reflect that 2 members of the hearing board are participating remotely. Both of our agendas were posted in a timely manner. Is that right, Dr. Williams?
Yes,
Is there anyone in the room with you at the moment?
there is not.
My address was also posted in a timely manner pursuant to the Brown Act, and there's no one in the room with me as well. So at this time, we will move to the first case. New Singular Wireless LLC DBA AT&T Mobility, case number 5991-2, short variance. Discussion.
I'll go ahead and start it. The request is, as you indicated, is for a short variance. The emergency engine they had ran over the lot of 200 hours due to vandalism, and then they had to continue to operate it or have it available in case of emergency, and they had it during the fire and so forth. So they've well exceeded the 200 hours. And so they are requesting a variance till the end of the year when the hours will reset, so that in case there's an emergency, they can run the engine. So they've provided all the reasons why they need to have this ability to provide essential service to the telecommunication service to the networks by having the generator running in case of a power failure. So I think that they made the 6 findings necessary in the proposed finding and decision document. I did make some correction, and that is just basically, and I keep getting this, and it's getting a little frustrating, that I have to keep correcting it. Once you exceeded the 200 hours, you don't get to subtract the PSPS hours. It's from the 200 hours. So depending which attorney submitting it, they use a different template. Some seems that they're not sharing it because they accept the changes, but then you keep getting sometimes incorrect template reflecting the PSPS hours. But anyhow, they accept. I removed it as part of my comment. It's accepted, so that condition is removed to subtract the PSPS hours, and then I added the language to pay the fee by January 31st, 2025. Just that's consistent with what we've done with other engines in the that sought variance. So the emissions are minimal during this period. It's a LPG engine. And again, they've only run it for 1 month or 1 hour definition testing and as needed if there's an emergency. So anyway, for all those reasons, I do believe I can make the 6 findings to grant the short variance.
Well, why don't you go ahead and make the motion, Mr. Balakapalan?
Just one comment, should we note, or did we already label the exhibits, including his email correspondence,
No,
Mr. Chair?
You're 100% right. So, Madam Clerk, would you want to call the exhibits out? I believe we only have one exhibit, correct?
Oh. We have,
You have this.
we have the stipulation. And then the declaration of Bill Winchester and the proposed findings
So those,
And
so the,
HB1.
and HB1.
okay, so why don't you go ahead and call them out so we can make sure we have them corrected?
Okay, so this is working, but the stipulation is 1.
Yes,
The declaration of Bill Winchester. 2. And then the findings is 3.
okay. And then we have HB1, which is.
And
the
HB1, it's Mr. Balakapalan's email.
Communication, okay. Just to be clear, no one has sought recognition to provide general public comment or evidentiary comments, correct?
There's no one.
Okay. All right, Mr. Balakapalan, on the motion.
Okay, in the matter of new singular wireless PCS doing business at AT&T Mobility, I move case number, 5991-2. I move that we grant short variance commencing today, November 20th, and continuing through December 31st, 2024, from Rule 203B and condition number 4, permit to operate G10277 for the equipment that is located at Strawberry Peak Lookout, Mountain, San Bernardino, and the conditions as listed in the revised in exhibit number 3, and the emissions for during this period are quite low. It's not just 0.0. If they run 24 hours a day, 0.227 pounds per day. VOC is 0.045 pounds per day. CO is 2.273 pounds per day. PM10 is 0.973 pounds per day, and SOx is 0.068 pounds per day. Then, as indicated in they'll pay the fees by the end. Should pay the fees by the end of January, and that's all I have in my motion.
Is there a
I
second?
second that.
All right, the motion has been properly moved by Mr. Balakapalan and seconded by Mr. Pearman. Any further question or discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Dr. Williams, how do you cast your vote?
I have a couple questions, not necessarily would influence my vote, but just maybe some food for thought for the AT&T or the Singular Wireless. I was wondering with the LPG fuel tank that they're using, whether it's clean natural gas or if there's other stuff with it, was one question I had. Second is they mentioned that, this area is prone to criminal acts, and that was what led to the emergency generator going off for so long and they anticipate further criminal acts. So my question is, have they done anything to secure the area so that this doesn't become a regular occurrence? And the third question, I don't know, this might be outside of their budget. Have they considered converting to solar panels to, so that things are cleaner for the environment should this happen again in the future?
All right, your questions are noted and will be included in the minutes. Your vote?
I motion to proceed.
Ms. Verdugo-Peralta?
Aye.
Mr. Balakapalan?
Aye.
Mr. Pearman?
Aye.
Ali votes in the affirmative. The matter is hereby approved unanimously. We're moving down to the next case. The next case is Snow Summit LLC, case number 4657-3. Madam Clerk, is there anyone online to provide public comments or evidentiary testimony?
There isn't.
Shall we mark the exhibits?
Sure.
Thank you.
We have the stipulation, which will be marked, it's from the, let's see, so that will be 1. And then the declaration of Wade Reeser is 2. And let's see, sending the findings for here. Oh, and the findings are 3. Okay.
Turn your microphone on, Ms. Verdugo-Prauta.
Oh, sorry, John Furlong, there's another declaration.
Oh, okay, I see. So the declaration of John Furlong is 3, and then the findings is 4.
Okay,
And Mr. Balakawan's email.
HB1. All right, any discussion?
I'll go on this one. This one is a little, well, it's not complicated. It's somewhat similar to the engine. They have a it was a snow summit, and they use the 6 large engines to generate to make basically run the engines to generate to make snow basically. So that because they don't have at least they haven't had power sufficient power by the utility to run these snow machines. So they use the engines, and they've been using it for many years. However, due to the amendment to Rule 1100 and 1110.2, and they have been also planning to upgrade the electrical infrastructure. So they're building a new power plant. They're going to go to utility power. Unfortunately, there's been a series of delays that has necessitated for them to come before us for a variance, a short variance till the end of the year because the hours will reset. There are some prohibitions in the rule because they were able to get through the governing board amendments to Rule 1100 and 1110.2 and for low use. So this is supposed to be low use engine, which means they don't operate more than 500 hours a year. However, they anticipate needing more hours, at least additional 300 hours potentially for each engine for the end of this period. The kicker is because if you exceed for low use, you're supposed to then repower, retrofit, or retire the unit within 6 months from the date of the reported exceedances. What they wanted to do, however, is keep these engines for backup. So what the nation is that it's not economically feasible for us to say, okay, well, we could, but according to the rule, you got to submit applications to repower, retrofit, or retire the unit within 6 months. That's in the rule. However, the cost to do that is prohibitive, and they're already very close to getting the power plant and the infrastructure in place. So this will go into a standby status, and they will hopefully not run these engines as much as they used to in the past. There were 3 things I sort of looked at when you have this new baseline. You have now an increase in emission, which is significant. So the emissions that they have estimated based on the worst case is quite it's not minimal, it's above the significant level. I think I have calculated it's about 432 pounds of 869 pounds per day of NOx if all 6 engines are running at full 100 capacity. That's the way they calculate maximum. But potentially it won't be that high, but nevertheless, the emissions are significant. But the duration they're asking for is for a short period. And I looked at Rule 504, we can allow up 90 days without requiring offset. There was no condition here to do modeling or offset and back, So they did do some cost effectiveness before, saying that it is not cost effective to retrofit these engines, and that's why they got this exemption for low use. However, they were not able to meet the deadline of this year of not of low use for the engine. So what they're asking is the ability to run 300 hours, potentially more for each engine. Now, one of the question I asked in my comment was, what is the usage for these engines in the past years? So we can, and in their reply, you can see that the usage has varied, 507, some cases 600, depending on the season and the year. So it's not been substantially higher up to the 300 more hours that they're requesting. So and prior to the amendment to the rule, the engine limit was 2,900. So one of the questions I asked was, is it going to make the ambient air, exceed ambient air quality standard in that area? But it looks like that was evaluated previously, and it was probably determined that was not the case. And now the hours have been reduced from 2,000 to 500. So the three things: one, offset, they got 90 days, so they're not requesting that long. It's only till the end of the year. Two, it appears from the past modeling that they've done, we assume they have demonstrated compliance with those standards. And then three is the retrofit, which is very cost. They have to. The existing engine, they cannot retrofit. They'll have to get new engines. So is that the right thing to do? I mean, when they're so close to getting the power plant in and they expended $1 million for that. So, and I do believe we can exercise discretion in that area and say, okay, that we can grant this variance, even though the rules specifically say they have to retire this once they exceed the 500 hours. And it appears that the district is okay with that because they also will consent. So for that reason, I do believe I can make the 6 findings to grant the short variance until the end of the year to operate those engines beyond the 500 hours.
Any more discussion?
I concur. I think what also is noted is that one, they've had this long planned electrification project, which would, really benefit the situation, but it's been delayed for a reason not caused by them. I think that realistically, based on the stipulation, the declaration, the history, the worst case for excess emissions probably won't be hit, and so I think it won't be that deleterious to the air quality, but there will be some excess emissions, no doubt.
All right. Is there a motion?
You want me? I can make the motion.
Go right ahead, sir.
Make the motion. Let me just quickly go to 6 finding. I think in this case, I don't want to make the 6 findings here. So the petitioner will be in violation of their low usage limit in their permit, and specifically C 1.6 of the facility permit, and also there's been violation of Rule 1100 D9 and 1110.2 D1B 6 and 2003 B and 2004 F1 3002 C1, because they both are reclaiming Title V permit. So they will be in violation, or potentially, right now they haven't exceeded the 500, but they could be imminently in violation of that permit condition, C 1.6. And I think, as Mr. Perman alluded, it is beyond the sort of the reasonable control. They were expecting to have the power plan and all the infrastructure in place before the end of the year, but as we saw, the fire and delay in permitting and so forth that they've provided in their declaration, that they have been not able to complete the project. And so that's beyond their control. beyond the reasonable control. And so the third finding, which is, whether, excuse me, 1 second, let me get whether the harm to the petitioner outweighs the emissions. Now, the emissions are significant. So the worst case, as I indicated, is about, in the noxious worst case is about close to 800, over 800 pounds a day. However, I think due to the short time frame that they're requesting, the harm to the petitioner outweighs emissions and to the impact, to the community. And I believe in the past, with the higher operating hours, they've been demonstrating compliance with the NOx standard. So that's the other reason to look at. So harm to the petitioner outweighs the benefit to air quality. So have they given consideration to curtailing operation? I think there are required conditions in the permit limiting them to one startup and shutdown, so that will sort of curtail the operation, and so that will they say they will operate the engine only as needed, so that will also reduce excess emissions by curtailing up startup and shutdown also, and then they will monitor and quantify emission, and the consultant has provided the emission calculations for quantifying the emissions, and they will report the emission. They did ask for 45 days after the end of the variance to submit the fees, because then, and I think we should give them time, because it'll take some time to calculate all the emissions, calculate all the hours, and provide the fees to the district. So I do believe I can make the 6 findings, and I'll go ahead. Unless there's another comment, I will go ahead with the motion. Give me 1 minute, and I think they have laid it out much better than I. So in the matter of Snow Summit LLC, case number 4657-3, I move that we grant a short variance commencing today, November 19th, and continuing through December 31st, 2024, from the following rules and conditions. So it's condition, Title 5 permit condition C 1.6, rules 1100D9A, 1110.2D1B, 203B. I'm sorry, before 203B, 1110.2E9, and there's one more, and 1100D9B. So let me just repeat, I'm sorry, in order. Let me go with the 1100 first. So it's 1100D9A, and then 1100D9B, 1110.2D1B6, and 1110.2E9, and then 203B, 2004 F1, 3002 C1 for the 6 engines that are identified. And I'm not going to read those, the permits for those, but the device numbers are as indicated. As let me see, it's D69, D70, D75, D78, D79, D80. So those are the 6 engines, but they are basically 3,000 horsepower, over 3,000 horsepower diesel engines that will that they need relief from. Then the missions, as I say, the equipment is located at Snow Summit in Big Bear area. Let me see if I have the right address. So 880 Summit Boulevard in the city of Big Bear. The conditions are set forth in the proposed finding and decision document with no changes. The excess emission during this period will be, now I'll read it for the record, just what I calculated. And this is the worst case based on all engines operating. I just had that here. Okay, it's for CO, it is 432.6 pounds per day. For NOx is 869.4 pounds per day. For PM is 9.6 pounds per day. for ROG is 82.2 pounds per day, and for SOX is 4.8 pounds per day. Again, this is in the worst case. They operate 24 hours at full 100% capacity, which potentially won't happen, and they exceed the 500 hours. So it depends on how many hours they go beyond the 500 hours. And that basically is my motion.
Is there a second? Seconded by the distinguished gentle lady Verdugo Peralta. Any question or discussion on the motion? All right, Dr. Williams, your vote?
I second.
You're voting aye.
Aye.
Right, Verdugo Peralta,
Aye.
Balaka Palan,
Aye.
Pierman,
Aye.
Ali in the affirmative, the item is approved unanimously. Next case on the docket, South Coast AQMD versus Southern California Edison Pebbly Beach Generating Station, case number 1262-115, which is the status report modification of order of abatement. Madam Clerk, there were a series of documents forwarded yesterday. Can we mark those accordingly?
Got the stipulation as 10. There's a declaration from Young Chung that I'm marking as P. And the proposed findings and decisions is 11. Did you have anything?
Yeah.
And email from Mr. Balak Balan is HB 2.
And
Okay.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, sorry. Ms. Williams may want to sit out on this one because, it's not fair for her to participate because there's been series of previous cases on this. So unless she wants to participate because she's read through all those cases and is on top of it. Otherwise, I would suggest it's you whether, what your determination is, whether you should participate or not in this particular case.
Yes,
Dr.
that's,
Williams, are you comfortable?
yeah, I'll recuse myself, but I'll listen in and, yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I agree with you.
All right, Mr. Balakapalan, discussion.
I'll do this one, Mohan.
Yeah,
okay.
please.
Verdugo Peralta.
Okay, this is for, as you mentioned, the status report and modification for the order of abatement. And as was mentioned by Mr. Balagopalan, this has come before us. This is for unit number 15, which is located at 1 Pebbly Beach in Avalon on Catalina Island. And as we have seen them present before, unit 15, they were undergoing a reconstruction, and because they exceeded the 50% in the cost to do this, they fell under, I believe it's rule 1470B, 47B. And so therefore, the threshold of that 50% for this particular unit was subject to the emissions limits, other requirements for the new engines under the federal as well as AQMD rules. And when they did change 1470, I'm sorry, 1470 was not changed from those in the then existing to operate. And the particular matter limit for the new engines under Rule 1470 C4A was inadvertently omitted from the emission limits applicable for unit number 15's permit. Therefore, that made the issue one of contention. I know that Edison was not in agreement with what we found and in agreement with even coming before the hearing board, but they did. And we found that they did have to adhere to it. And it was also a matter of that could not meet the applicable PM emission limit per 1470 in this particular unit. And it is the lowest emitting, even though it's the lowest emitting engine for NOx and CO among the 6 engines that they do have at that facility. We did talk about alternative fuel, as was mentioned by the other, the new member, the doctor's replacement. I shouldn't say replacement, but alternate, that we did ask them to take a look at solar. And I think they are going to for the future, but they are not at this point. But in any case, let's see. They could not, let's see. They would increase the overall emissions and the respondent would be unable to comply with that facility-wide NOx limit in the Title V permit. So in the order that resulted from there, we did ask them to immediately cease and desist from violating the District Rule 1470, or in the alternative, comply with the following conditions that we had. And there were also increments of progress that were mentioned during the hearings as well. That one of them also, they had to come before us, they would come before us in the coming year on May 21st, unless there's a date that's more applicable to either the hearing board or Edison. And the hearing board may modify that order for abatement without stipulation of the parties upon showing of good cause, and therefore upon making the findings required by the Health and Safety Code, Section 4245(1)A and District Rule 806A, and any modification of the order shall be made with public notice. And therefore, unless we decide to terminate it earlier, we will retain jurisdiction over this matter through March 31st of 2026.
Can I add something to that? I think
Right
more,
here, sir.
what happened also is there was a prohibition rule 1135 that did not allow them for new engines. So the governing board amended the rule on October 4th, 2024, and extended the deadline for the Unit 15 installation to January 1, 2028. So that allowed them to move forward with the Tier 4 engine. Previously, that was the prohibition, and the district was, about getting the Tier 4 engine. They wanted all the alternatives to be looked at, but the governing board has now extended the date when they can apply for the Tier 4 engine, and it looks like they've submitted permits already for replacement for 3 of the engines to Tier 4 engines, and they're waiting for EPA's approval. So that is moving the project forward. So potentially, I think it said that they should get the permits by February, but in case really the order, I think should end. But even though it did say we will retain jurisdiction under 2026, but maybe when they come back for the status update, and I think there's in 6 months from there's a date there that maybe they will take it off calendar, because if they get the permit, the prohibition, the variance was on the engine number 15. If they get a permit for 15, then there's really no need for an order abatement, in my opinion. So maybe we'll hear that on the modification hearing of May 21st, 2025.
And I know that they are looking at, as I mentioned before, alternative fuel, and they didn't really want to go to the expense originally of doing this, and realized that they had to, for the time being, to be able to comply. So maybe they'll even come up with, we don't know, especially now that things have turned, and I think the economy is not going to let them. We'll see. We shall see.
All right, is there a motion? Mr. Pearman.
Just a couple of comments to Madam Clerk. The Exhibit 11 has Dr. Bernstein and Dr. Abraham appearing on today's date, so that should be corrected and Ms. Williams put in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, is there a motion?
I think we just need to find good cause in this, and so I believe I can. I see that they have been trying to comply with what we've asked them to, reluctantly as though they may be. But in that case, I can find good cause, and I move that we find good cause in the case for, and that is located, I just had that address, 1 Pebbly Drive on Catalina Island, and this is for case number 1212-115, and
I think it's 1262 one. Sorry.
Oh, you're right, 1262-11, but I'm still thinking of yesterday's case. But in any, let's go ahead and I would say that we can find good cause. And if I can have a second?
Is there a second?
Go ahead, Mr. Freeman.
All right, moved by
Just-
Verdugo Peralta, second, by Mr. Freeman.
Yeah,
Any
just add,
modifications?
the date has changed, so the modification is just a status here to the status hearing next year, you know.
Yeah, the status hearing being,
It's in
yeah,
there, yeah.
it's in
yeah.
the order.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Roll call. Dr. Williams?
I recuse myself from this case.
Verdugo Peralta?
Aye.
Balaka Palan?
Aye.
Chairman?
Aye.
Ali votes in the affirmative. The matter is passed for a vote with a recusal. All right, at this moment in time, if there's no other business for the hearing board, I would ask that we would adjourn at 10:18 a.m.
And happy Thanksgiving, everyone, right? We don't meet until after that, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
We're officially off the record.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
That's right. Yes, Jay. Thank you for all your hard work.
No problem, anytime. We'll see you in December.